When 50 Cent announced he was executive producing Sean Combs' The Reckoning for Netflix, the whole country took a breath. Everyone thought they knew the story. Everyone thought they'd already heard the worst. But they didn't hear what happened to me. Not the night I checked into the Park Hyatt, not the moment I looked into his eyes, and definitely not what he whispered in the dark. Because what I saw wasn't a superstar under pressure. It wasn't a scandal. It wasn't human. And before this is over, you'll understand the ritual, the demon, and the tragedy that bind his name. This is the part they can't put in a documentary. I told myself it was just another business trip, another quiet week in New York. Eat, sleep, meetings, go home. Nothing special, nothing dangerous. But something felt off the moment my taxi pulled up to the Park Hyatt. At first I thought there was a convention happening, or a major political figure staying the night. Black SUVs lined the curb, their engines humming in a low, synchronized purr. Police officers stood in tight clusters by the revolving doors, radios clipped to their shoulders, eyes fixed on nothing and everything at once. Not tense, not alert, just waiting. A strange kind of waiting. I stepped out of the cab, suitcase rolling behind me, and the doorman offered a smile that didn't touch his eyes. The air felt thick, like the building itself was holding its breath. Inside, the lobby glowed with soft gold lighting and clean marble. But the atmosphere was colder than I expected. Unnaturally still, almost staged, as if someone had hit pause on real life. And that's when I saw him, Diddy. He stood near the lobby lounge, dressed in all black, scrolling through his phone. No entourage, no security, just him. I froze like a starstruck tourist, because who wouldn't? But the longer I stared, the more something inside me twisted. His presence didn't feel glamorous or exciting. It felt wrong. Still, I approached, because when else would I get a chance like this? Hey, excuse me, could I get a selfie? He looked up slowly, as though pulling his attention from somewhere far deeper than a screen. His smile appeared instantly, too quick, perfectly placed, like a mask snapping into position. Yeah, sure, he said. I raised my phone. He stepped closer. His hand landed on my shoulder. Cold, not cool, like someone who just came in from outside. Ice cold, dead cold. My breath hitched, but I forced a smile. Click. He stepped back, smile fading the second the camera dropped. No goodbye, no nod. He just walked toward the elevators and disappeared behind closing doors. Something fluttered in my chest. I couldn't name it yet. Fear, maybe. I stared at the selfie, my face, excited, nervous, Diddy's perfect smile. But his pupils, they looked too dark, too full, like there was something behind them, something pressing forward. I lowered the phone quickly. The check-in receptionist smiled stiffly. Her voice was steady but strained. Welcome to the Park Hyatt. Checking in? I nodded, distracted by the sight of two more officers entering the lobby. Is everything okay outside? I asked. There's a lot of police presence. She didn't pause, didn't blink. We just want everything to go according to plan. The words landed like a drop of ice water on my spine. I laughed nervously. What plan? She simply handed me my room card. Elevators are to your left. No explanation, no clarification. Just that one rehearsed line hanging in the air between us. Upstairs, the hallway to my room was oddly silent. Thick carpet, dim lighting, faint scent of eucalyptus from the spa below. Everything should have felt calming. But as I slid the key card into the door, my skin prickled like static was crawling over it. Inside, the room was immaculate, modern, safe. I locked the door, tossed my bags aside, and sat on the edge of the bed. But the feeling didn't fade. It clung to my ribs. Every time I exhaled, something inside me tightened. I tried distracting myself, turned on the TV, checked my emails, scrolled through social media, but my mind kept circling back to the selfie. Diddy's pupils, the cold touch, the police. Eventually, exhaustion tugged me under. When the dream began, it felt more real than sleep. I was back in the hallway. Same lighting, same carpet, same silent stretch, but no rooms, no doors. The corridor extended endlessly in both directions, breathing darkness. I heard footsteps, slow, echoing, but not mine. I turned, and the hallway elongated as if the building were stretching around me, bones cracking beneath its walls. I ran, hands slapping against the walls, but the hallway kept expanding, pulling away from me. A voice whispered behind me, close, too close. Follow. I jerked awake, drenched in sweat. The room was dark except for the faint blinking light of the thermostat. My heart hammered against my chest. I listened. Silence. Normal hotel silence. Still, I swung my legs out of bed, needing air, needing proof I wasn't losing my mind. I opened the door carefully. The hallway was empty, but the light at the far end flickered, casting short bursts of brightness across the floor. That's when I saw him. Diddy, standing perfectly still beneath the flickering bulb. He wasn't wearing the same clothes as earlier. These were darker, heavier, almost shadow-like. His face was tilted slightly, watching me without expression. He didn't speak, didn't move. I blinked. He was closer. My throat tightened. Hello? My voice shook. Blink. Closer again. A sickening, sinking dread spread through my chest, like my heart was falling through the floor. Blink. He was halfway down the hall now. No footsteps, no sound. His body didn't sway or shift like someone walking. It was as if he was simply appearing, nearer and nearer. I stumbled back into my room, slamming the door shut. I locked every bolt, pressed my back against it, holding my breath. Nothing. No footsteps, no breathing, no voice. But the silence on the other side of the door felt thick, like someone standing right there, listening. I stayed sitting against the door for nearly an hour, knees pulled tight to my chest, until exhaustion finally dragged me back into the bed. When morning light crept through the curtains, I half convinced myself it was a nightmare, a vivid, terrifying nightmare born from stress and celebrity shock. Just a dream. That's what I repeated to myself while brushing my teeth, showering, preparing for the day. Just a dream, just a dream. I believed it. Until I opened my phone out of habit and glanced again at the selfie. This time, Diddy's smile didn't look staged. It looked hungry. And his pupils weren't just dark, they were completely black. No reflection, no whites, just void. Cold filled my chest. Dream or not, something followed me out of that hallway, and it wasn't done yet. I woke up the next morning feeling like I had been hit by a truck. Groggy, heavy, disoriented. Sunlight slipped through the curtains in sharp, accusing lines, reminding me the night was over, reminding me everything I saw could be explained. That's what I told myself anyway. It was sleep paralysis. It was a nightmare. I was overtired. I imagined him in the hallway. I clung to every excuse like a lifeline. My mind kept circling back to the selfie, to the way his pupils swallowed the light, to the flickering hallway, to the way he moved, if you could even call it movement. But I refused to let fear lock me inside. So I showered, got dressed, and stepped outside into the cool breeze of the city. I wanted noise, people, distractions, anything to drown out the unease thumping behind my ribs. For the first time since arriving, I felt a small relief. Just a sliver, but enough to breathe. Battery Park seemed like the perfect place to reset. Open space, water, morning joggers, dog walkers, real life happening around me. I sat on a bench overlooking the harbor, exhaling slowly, letting tension drip off my shoulders. I convinced myself that last night was just a stress dream, amplified by seeing a celebrity out of context. I almost believed it, until I heard the bell. A soft, delicate ding that sliced through the ambient noise like a scalpel. I turned, and there he was, Diddy, on a black city bike, just sitting there, not moving, not pedaling, not even holding the handlebars. His hands hung loosely at his sides, but the bike stayed balanced as if fused to the ground. He stared at me, expressionless, unblinking, like a predator waiting for the right moment. My stomach dropped straight to the floor. A jogger ran between us, blocking my view for a split second. And when she passed, he was gone. No bike, no movement, nothing. Just open park space. My breath quickened, and I grabbed my bag with shaking hands, forcing myself to walk, fast, but not too fast, toward the street. Every instinct screamed to run, but my mind repeated that whisper from last night. Don't run. The command crawled up my spine like cold fingers. I headed toward Soho next, wanting crowds and lights, anything to break the feeling crawling beneath my skin. But the dread followed. Soho should have felt comforting. Boutiques, chatter, people brushing past each other with too much purpose. But something felt off. The air felt sticky, heavy. My senses were too sharp, every sound too crisp. That's when I heard it again, a faint metallic tick, tick, tick behind me. I turned slowly. Diddy pedaled down the narrow street on the same black bike, but the wheels didn't match the motion. They spun lazily, too slow. The bike glided effortlessly, not bouncing over cracks or bumps. His posture was stiff, unnatural, like something was holding him upright. His eyes locked onto mine as he passed. No smile, no emotion, just hunger. My legs refused to move until he turned the corner, disappearing from view. I clutched my chest, trying to slow my breathing. People around me kept walking, oblivious. No one questioned the man gliding through the street like a glitch. No one saw the wrongness. Maybe they weren't meant to. By midday, I found myself at the museum, hoping a quiet space would help me gather myself. I spent an hour pretending to admire exhibits, but my mind stayed trapped in fear's chokehold. When I stepped outside, the sunlight hit me like a physical blow, because across the street, standing perfectly still beside the black bike, was Diddy. One hand resting gently on the seat, chest rising and falling too slowly. Eyes locked onto me like I was the only thing in the world. Pedestrians walked between us. He didn't blink, he didn't move. He didn't acknowledge them. He only watched me. A bus passed between us, blocking my view for a heartbeat. When it rolled away, he was gone. I backed into the museum doors, hands trembling. My heartbeat wouldn't slow. I felt displaced, like the city was bending around me, placing him where he needed to be. By nightfall, desperation pushed me into Times Square. I needed crowds, noise, life. Somewhere he couldn't isolate me. Somewhere he would stand out. But dread moved with me like a second shadow. Billboards flashed, music blared, people shouted. The city pulsed. Then a bike bell sliced through the chaos. Ding! I froze. Diddy glided through the crowd on the same black bike, but this time he wasn't pedaling, not even touching the pedals. His body was rigid, arms stiff, face blank as he drifted between hundreds of people. No one noticed, no one reacted. The crowd parted subtly, unconsciously, like something invisible redirected them. He coasted right past me, inches from my ear. I smelled winter air on him, and something deeper, older, colder. He leaned in as he passed. Don't run. My knees buckled. I stumbled backward into a group of tourists who glanced at me with annoyance, but didn't notice the shadow gliding away. I ran. I didn't care what he said. I didn't care who saw me. I ran through Times Square like my life depended on it, and maybe it did. I didn't stop until I reached the Park Hyatt. My chest burned. Sweat dripped down my back. The lobby felt even colder now, and the police presence heavier. Officers watched me enter, like they were tracking something behind me. I ignored them and rushed toward the elevators, jamming the button repeatedly. The ride up felt endless. Every floor dinged with a metallic echo. My reflection in the elevator walls looked pale, sunken, haunted. When I stepped out onto my floor, the hallway lights flickered violently. Something in the air shifted. a force, a presence. And then I saw him, Diddy, standing at the far end of the hallway, leaning casually against my door. Arms folded, head tilted, that same hungry smile from the selfie stretched across his face, but wider, too wide. My vision blurred. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just waited. For me. My breath stuttered in my throat and I took one shaky step backward. That's when the lights went out. I don't know how I made it back to the Park Hyatt without collapsing. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else, someone braver or stupider, because I should have kept running. I should have left Manhattan entirely. But fear has a strange way of trapping you in familiar places, even when those places stop feeling human. When the hotel doors slid open, the atmosphere shifted immediately. Last night there had been police. Tonight there were more. The lobby was crawling with them. Uniformed officers, plainclothes men with earpieces, a few people who looked more like federal agents than hotel security. They weren't tense, they weren't chaotic. They were organized, like they were preparing for an event they'd rehearsed 100 times. They barely looked at me, but I felt observed. The receptionist from before avoided my eyes. 2 officers whispered, stopped when I approached, then straightened as if resetting into script. Something ugly settled in my stomach. I headed for the elevators, refusing to let myself look behind me. The doors slid shut and sealed me inside with my own reflection. I looked pale, sunken-eyed, sweat damp, haunted. The elevator dinged for each passing floor, a sharp metallic stab that grated against my nerves. I felt like someone or something was riding up with me. The mirrored walls made it worse, as if multiple versions of myself were shrinking away from the truth I didn't want to face. Finally, the doors opened. The hallway was dimmer than usual, lights flickering as if struggling to stay alive. The carpet muted my footsteps, but I could hear my heartbeat echoing through the silence. Halfway down the hall, the air changed, heavy, thick, electric. I knew he was there before I saw him. And then I did. Diddy stood directly in front of my hotel room door. No bike, no movement, no entourage, just him. His posture was relaxed, almost casual, hands folded in front of him, one shoulder resting lightly against the doorframe. But his presence, it smothered the hallway, like the oxygen bent around him. He watched me approach without blinking. "You came back," he said softly, voice smooth as velvet and just as suffocating. I swallowed hard. My throat felt raw. I live here tonight. "You shouldn't," he said without emotion. "But you did." He stepped aside only slightly, enough to let me stand near my door, but not enough to feel safe. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. My hand twitched toward my pocket, searching for the key card like a lifeline. Diddy's eyes followed the movement. "You want to know what's happening?" he said. It wasn't a question. My breath caught. "I want you to leave me alone." He gave a breathless laugh, too fast, too forced, like someone mimicking the idea of humor. "You think this is about you?" he whispered. He leaned closer, not touching, but close enough that the air around me chilled. "This started long before you." Silence stretched between us like a rope being pulled tight. Finally, he spoke again, slower this time, almost reflective. "You remember Heavy D's charity basketball game?" The mention made my chest tighten. Everyone remembered that story, the tragedy, the confusion, the questions. Diddy looked past me down the hallway, like recalling something buried too deep for most people to find. "That day," he said, "wasn't supposed to happen like that." The hallway lights flickered overhead. The hum of electricity grew sharper. Diddy's voice dropped lower, the cadence slowing. They needed a tragedy. My breath hitched. "Who did?" He didn't answer directly. Instead, he tapped his chest with 2 fingers. And I gave them one. A chill ran through me so violently, my knees almost buckled. He continued, eyes half closed, voice almost serene. "In return, I got my name. I stared at him, horrified. What do you mean? Your name? He smiled, that same hungry, unnatural curve from the selfie. My name isn't a nickname, it's a title, a contract, an exchange. A pause. Diddy? The hallway seemed to darken around the word, as if the building itself reacted. My mind raced. Why are you telling me this? You're the first person I've ever told, he said too calmly. Because you were chosen. My pulse hammered in my ears. Chosen for what? For understanding. His expression softened, but it was the kind of softness you'd see on a wolf before a kill. Fame isn't luck, he said. It isn't earned. It's taken. It's given. But only if you pay. He leaned closer again, lowering his voice until it barely existed. They told me greatness had a price, a life for a legacy, a tragedy for a name carved into the world. Every instinct screamed to run. Who told you that? I whispered. His eyelids drooped. The ones who don't live on this side. A beat. Not anymore. The hallway lights continued flickering, faster now, as if reacting to something unseen. My hand found the door handle. I couldn't stay there. If I stayed, I felt like something would crawl into my lungs and live there. Diddy didn't block my way. He didn't grab me. He didn't even step forward. He simply watched. Where are you going? He asked gently. Away from you. You can't. I can try. His head tilted, curious, like he was learning something new about human behavior. You think this is because you're scared, he murmured. But fear isn't the purpose. Understanding is. His hand rose, not touching me, but hovering just inches from my shoulder. The same place he touched in the selfie. The cold radiating from that space chilled my skin even without contact. You feel it, don't you? The pull, the door opening. I shoved past him. The contact felt impossible, like pushing through fog, resistance without solidity, like my body passed through two different temperatures at once. I fumbled my key card, slipped it into the lock, and the door clicked open. As I stepped inside, Diddy whispered through the narrowing crack, I always get what I want. The door shut with a soft thud. Instantly, the lights in my room flickered, then dimmed. And from the bottom of the door, a long, slow sniff, dragging across the threshold. He was smelling the air, smelling me. I didn't sleep, not really. I spent the whole night sitting in the hotel chair with my eyes locked on the door, waiting for a knock, a shadow, a whisper sliding underneath. Every creak in the walls made my pulse spike. Every flicker from the bathroom light made me whip my head around. But nothing happened. No footsteps, no breathing, just silence. A silence that felt intentional, like he was letting me wait, letting fear do his work for him. Around 6 in the morning, my body finally sagged forward. I must have dozed off for 10 minutes, just long enough for the morning light to slip through the curtains and stretch across the carpet. When I finally forced myself downstairs, the first thing I noticed was how normal everything looked. The lobby was calm. Staff smiled genuinely. Guests rolled suitcases past me like it was any ordinary day. Even the police presence had thinned out. Half the officers were gone, and the ones that remained looked bored, as if nothing strange had ever happened in this building. For a second, I convinced myself I imagined it all. The hallucinations, the bike, the hallway, the confession. Maybe it was trauma, sleep deprivation, stress, something explainable. I tried to believe that. I really did, because I had another week left on this business trip. 7 days trapped in this hotel, pretending everything was normal. 7 days eating breakfast downstairs, riding those same elevators, walking through those same hallways. Nothing strange happened during that week. No glimpses of him, no whispers in the vents, no bike, no shadow, but the fear never left. I kept my back to the wall in every room. I slept with the lights on. I never let the hotel door close behind me without a second check. And I never, not once, stood in the hallway without scanning both ends first. By the end of the week, exhaustion had settled into my bones. I packed my suitcase slowly on the last morning, relief gradually warming my chest. I kept telling myself, You survived it. You imagined it. You're leaving. I checked out at the front desk, thanked the receptionist, and turned toward the revolving doors. The lobby was bright with morning sunlight. A couple took photos near the entrance. A businessman argued on his phone. A bellhop pushed a cart of luggage. Normal. Perfectly normal. Then the front doors burst open. Federal agents swarmed into the lobby. Black jackets, badges, flashlights, voices shouting commands. The sound hit like a shockwave. Guests screamed and ducked. Staff backed away quickly, eyes wide with fear. Agents spread out in a practiced formation, the kind of coordination you only see in raids. And in the middle of it, Diddy, standing still, standing calm, standing like he'd been waiting for all of them. He didn't resist. He didn't panic. He just lifted his hands and let the cuffs tighten around his wrists. I backed away from the doors, my suitcase handle slipping from my grip. My breath hitched as agents led him toward the line of black SUVs waiting outside. Then, just before he stepped into the vehicle, he stopped. He lifted his head, slowly, deliberately. And he looked up at the hotel windows, looked right at me. Even through the glare of the glass, even through the chaos of the moment, I could feel it. Recognition, connection. That same cold certainty from the hallway. His expression didn't show fear, or anger, or confusion. Just a small, knowing smile. A smile that told me, I remember. I see you. This isn't over. I broke eye contact first. I don't know why. Maybe because some part of me believed, truly believed, that if I kept staring, he would find a way back inside. By the time I looked again, agents had pushed him fully into the SUV. The door slammed. The engine rumbled, and the convoy disappeared into traffic. I stood frozen at the window, chest tight, breath shaking, suitcase forgotten at my feet. Relief didn't come, not even for a second, because I knew what that look meant. And I knew what he whispered through the door the last time I saw him. Names don't let go. If you're hearing this, like, comment, and subscribe before he comes looking for you too.